Good evening, everybody. It's your friend Sean Vanderley here again to read poetry with you. I hope that you had a wonderful Sunday and a great weekend. Today I spent most of the day with my girlfriend. We had a great time. We had brunch. And when she went home, I went down to the workshop and fooled around with sheet metal and only cut myself once. But on to poetry. I hope your Sunday is as good as that. Picking up at verse 38 in Cold Mountain. 2 turtles aboard an ox cart took part in a highway drama. A scorpion came alongside, begging desperately for a ride. To refuse would violate goodwill. To accept would weigh them down. In a moment too brief to describe, acting kindly, they got stung. In April, when silkworms are small, girls come gathering flowers, chasing butterflies by the wall, trying to hit frogs in the water, dropping ripe plums into sheer silk sleeves, cutting bamboo shoots with golden hairpins. Others can argue about what's fine. This place is better than mine. An old lady who lives to the east got rich a few years ago. Before poorer than me, she now mocks my poverty. She laughs that I'm behind. I laugh that she's ahead. It seems we can't stop laughing from the east and from the west. The rich have so many cares. They can't just acquiesce. Their granary rice might be bright red. They still won't loan out a peck. Their reveries turn to guile. They pick through silk for the best. Whenever their final day arrives, the mourners will all be flies. I met a brilliant scholar once, learned and shrewd without peer. His examination fame echoed through the realm. His regulated verse surpassed that of others. His judgments excelled all those of the past. How could he follow in someone else's dust? Now rich and honored, he chases wealth and beauty. What can you say about broken tiles or melted ice? A white crane carries a bitter flower, 1,000 miles without resting. He's bound for the peaks of Penglai, with this for his provision. Not yet dare his feathers break off, far from the flock he sighs, returning to his old nest. His wife and children don't know him. I usually live in seclusion, but sometimes I go to Kuo-Ching to call on the venerable Fengcan or to visit with Master Shite. But I go back to Cold Cliff alone, observing an unspoken agreement. I follow a stream that has no spring. The spring is dry, but not the stream. If you were too dumb the life before, you won't be enlightened today. And if today you're poor, it's due to your previous lives. And if you don't reform this life, your next life will be the same. On either shore, there's no ferry, but one day you'll cross the vast divide. The beautiful Lady Lu, long ago, was called Never Sad. She loved to ride through a garden or row through a pond full of lilies. She knelt on a green bear rug and wore a blue phoenix robe, but grieved that in less than 100 years she couldn't avoid ending up in the hills. Mistress Su of Tien and Mistress Tu of Hantan, the two of them equally old, and sharing the same love of face, yesterday went to a tea, but poorly dressed they were shown to the back. Because their skirts were frayed, they had to eat leftover cake. Those are them for today. So you notice the last two are sort of these stories about sort of women. It seems like maybe aged courtesans of some sort. Both the paragraphs have to do with aged women for whatever reason. Notice in the first one about Lady Lu, there is these sort of absurd images which we've kind of been noticing here and there as we've been reading. For example, a green bear rug. Who's ever seen a green bear? Would they dye a bear rug green? I don't know. It's a beautiful sort of absurd strain that runs through this thing. For example, two turtles aboard an ox cart. You have that strange story, which boils down to the road to hell is paved with good intentions, because they got stung for even considering picking up the scorpion. You have these beautiful, bucolic images that are so nice. Thinking about girls gathering flowers, chasing butterflies, ripe plums. Makes you think back to a totally deindustrialized China over 1,000 years ago, where these were central images. Wouldn't they have been plums? Silkworm, silk. The lady who lives to the east who got rich. He laughs at her for being rich. She laughs at him for being poor. Sort of a yin and yang thing they have going on. Very beautiful. And we have this image which stuck with me when I did my first pass through here today. Talking about the rich. The fact that the mourners will all be flies. That's an image that really makes you think, doesn't it? And we've touched upon this again and again, this concept of throughout this book, that we're bags of flesh, and that transient, our time here, short. And again, more birds, a white crane. We talked about swans before. And again, into these Zen sort of almost like koans, I suppose is the word for it. I follow a stream that has no spring. The spring is dry, but not the stream. I'll leave you to think on that. I look forward to meeting up with you again in a week or so and reading some more poetry from Cold Mountain. Going on a journey back over 1,000 years. I don't know quite where you are, but for me, it's on the far side of the world in China, where these were written and preserved. Thank you for listening with me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.